What's up, y'all? Hope you're having a great, beautiful day out here. A little muggy out here, but it's still a nice day. Breeze, I think the breeze trying to come in. But again, appreciate y'all for watching. But I just want to talk about black men on this live today. I want to talk about black men. Uh, of course, throughout history, uh, black man has been, I feel, treated the worst, and black women. But I feel like black men, they get it a lot as far as society is concerned. But I feel like these days we use the black man thing as an excuse for black men to treat other people any kind of way, especially our black woman. We have the excuse about, men, we talk about men can't really show their emotions. Black men are just animals as far as the way they are in society. But a lot of black men, they choose, the actions that they do, and it's not about treat, being treated unfairly. It's not about any of those things. It's just about the black man's character and how they treat the woman. It's especially sad, we see all these situations where these black men are just out of control with their emotions, their anger. Maybe some of it stems from generational issues, generational situations. It can stem from that as well. But I feel like black men, we got to be more accountable of actions. We can't just make the excuse that I'm like this because I'm angry because of what happened to me in the past, or things like that. How you doing, Rand? Plays VR. You can't make the excuse all the time for the black man's anger. I think black men got to be more responsible and more accountable for their actions. This week, I think started the trial for Diddy. Diddy had all the fame in the world, but inside he still wasn't happy. Many of things stem from the past. I know when he was young, his father had got killed when he was very young. Of course, those things happen, but still it's no excuse for a black man to put his hands on a woman. No excuse with that. And so, he may pay the consequences for the things that he committed. But I hate to hear people say, "Oh, the black man going through it. The black man is getting accused for this or getting accused for that." They're trying to get all the black men in trouble. No, the black man did what they did. They abused women. They put their hands on women and stuff like that. And people make the excuse, like, they did it because they felt some kind of way. But it's no excuse for a black man to put their hands on a woman, especially, it's a lot of cases these black women, they put their hands on the mother of their child. They put their hands on the woman they supposedly love. But yeah, it's time for, I think, black men to really hold each other accountable for our actions. Thinking about even other celebrities, even now we're talking about in the YouTube world, with Halle Bailey and DDG situation. It's a whole lot going on as far as domestic violence, and we got to hold each other accountable for that. We can't just say he's angry because he couldn't see his kid. He's angry because of that. But from the papers, he broke in her house demanding certain answers, demanding this, demanding visitation of his son. How you doing, Tiziano for Figueroa? Yeah, he demanded certain things from Halle Bailey in a forceful way, you know. And so, DDG gotta, get the consequence. He has to get she put a restraining order on him because of those things. So, I feel like black men just have to be more accountable of each other, not just saying, oh, the white man trying to put us down, this and that. But we got to be more accountable for our own actions, It ain't all, this the white man and all this stuff trying to do this and that. But, I feel like, we got to be more accountable for our own actions, What this Diddy situation is sad. But if he did, what he did, he had to suffer the consequences of his actions, I think, like I said, we got to hold each other accountable for things that we do, We have to hold each other accountable, It's things, we all make mistakes, but, we learn from the mistakes and we keep going. I think with Diddy's situation, I've heard stories that he did this before he was famous. But, as he got famous, it got worse and worse, and he got very controlling in certain situations. And so, things happen and stuff like that. And so, again, appreciate y'all. Said hi, LeBron. Everybody say I look like LeBron. But yeah, I feel like, we got to be more accountable for the things we do. But again, appreciate y'all for being in here. Appreciate y'all. Let me know how y'all day been. I hope y'all having a great day. Hope you're having a great day. Enjoying yourselves. But yeah, I just get tired of that. I just get tired of that. Especially as black men on social media and all these platforms. We always talking about the black man. They trying to put the black man. They trying to get rid of the black man. But what are the black men really doing to make that narrative, change that narrative? What are black men doing to change that narrative of, being viewed as uncontrollable people, and that, even this Diddy situation making it worse for us black men to be trusted, in a relationship, And, I was watching Pop the Balloon. Certain man came up, certain men came on the show, and you could feel like the ladies up there, their hearts was like kind of pounding because they didn't know how the man would be if they chose that man to be a date, because they were so combative. They were so argumentative about certain things. And they didn't want to, they popped their balloon because they were like, I don't want to date this guy. I don't know what type of guy he is, because the way he's acting now, he's very argumentative. And so a lot of, especially black women, they may go to another persuasion because, they don't trust, black men anymore, because maybe they dealt with a black man in the past that treated them bad. You never know. So that's why I never judge, a person for their preference. Why do they go to the other persuasion? Why do they married someone of another race, but you never know. You never know the background story of why people chose what they chose. Excuse me, it's a little hot out here, that's why I'm sweating. But you never know why people choose what they choose, as far as their relationship. How you doing, Rich? How you doing, Brian? How you doing, Tiziano? How you doing, Oran? But yeah, you never know why people choose what they choose as far as who they date, dating preferences. You never know why people choose who they choose. But yeah, like I said, I think black men gotta be more accountable for their actions. Like I said, I hate that. We always say, "Oh, the black man," they trying to put the black man down, but we put ourselves down because of how we act. And we certain times we are viewed as uncontrollable. We are viewed as uncontrollable. And so again, appreciate y'all for being in here. If anybody want to add to this conversation, or you see this video later, feel free to add your comments on what you feel about this conversation, because like I said, I'm just tired of us black men making excuses for other men's actions. They with the Cassie and Diddy situation, they asked, was it consensual? At the beginning, it may have been consensual, and then Diddy just switched on her. Diddy just switched on her throughout the relationship, and it was more of a abusive situation. Because things can change, people can change. He might have was a certain way to lure her in, of course, and she liked the way he was, outgoing and famous, and everybody loved Diddy at the time. But over time, he changed his, the way he was, and she saw the real Diddy. And so, we just got to be more accountable, black men. We got to be more accountable for each other as far as our actions. We can't always say they trying to put the black man down. They trying to do this to the black man. They trying to do that. Yeah, Nutra said can start consensual, and definitely, yeah, yep. I'm trying to understand the last part. Definitely that way. Yeah, they change, a man, and it can be women as well, but I've seen a lot in men. A woman be with a man, he's all nice, and then he has to, not end that way, okay. And, he's nice, and, the woman sees the red flags. But she don't really want to recognize it because she's so in love with this guy. And then the red flags, it gets even more red flags that this is not the right guy. But they continue in it because initially the guy treated them, like gold. And then later on, it just get worse and worse. But the woman, they always want to give them a chance because they feel like they're going to go back to the same person that they initially met. But the thing is, this person always been that way, but they hid it so they can get you in, Newton said, not just ourselves, we have to hold other man. Yeah, that's what this video is about. We have to hold, accountability for each other, as far as the black male community. We just have to hold each other accountable for certain things. But again, this is a great conversation. Appreciate you, Newton Castle, for being in here. But yeah, I'm just tired of excuses. I hear a lot of black men on social media. they trying to get all the black men. They trying to get Chris Brown. They trying to get all these people. You know, they trying to get all these people. It's the Illuminati. You know, you know, even with the DDG and Halle Bailey situation, they don't. She don't want him to be successful. She's trying to take the son away from him. But you know, he wasn't acting as a good man. You know, he put his hand on Halle Bailey. She had all the evidence that he did those things, and so you know why would she feel safe? Would she feel safe that to have him around the baby, you know, around the child? So, you know, it's just all about accountability, holding each other accountable to our actions. You know, if I make a mistake, and I guess it's a loss of true wisdom from you know, the older generation, wisdom from the older generation. You know, Diddy, he thought he was invincible, thinking that he can get away from things, you know, all his life. But eventually, you know, the truth comes to light. And I think that's what's happening to a lot of these celebrities, a lot of these content creators, and all these people. You know, they're just getting the rug slipped right from under them. The cover, you know, the curtain is open. And everybody sees what type of person these people really are, you know, as human beings, you know. And so, again, appreciate y'all for being in here. Appreciate y'all for watching. Hope y'all having a great day. But yeah, we have to hold each other accountable as black men. Also, if you want me to talk about a certain topic on this channel, $ Open Mind Convo, if you want to send me a cash app with a topic, you know, you want me to talk about. The link is in my bio as well on my channel, on this channel. If you want me to talk about a certain topic, you know, if you want to support this channel, support this community. But again, appreciate y'all for being here on this conversation. Be here for a few more minutes. But yeah, you know, today I believe in the Diddy trial, Don Richard is going to be on trial. I think Cassie going to be back up there. And Jonathan Oddie, I think he was one of the escorts or something like that. But anyways, we just got to hold each other accountable. Hold each other accountable for our actions as black men. You know, we need to stop. We just got to be better people. Got to be better people, you know. And I'm not trying to sound like a Uncle Ruckus. I'm speaking facts. You know, we got to hold each other accountable as black men. You know, we do wrong as well. You know, we're not squeaky clean human beings. You know, we have to hold each other accountable. Stop making excuses about the other race putting us down, and the other race trying to expose us, the Illuminati and all that stuff. You know, we got to be, you know, we just got to do better. You know, we got to do better as black men. You know, we can't put our hands on a black woman or any woman of that matter. You know, we can't do that. You know, we are made to protect women, not you know, hit a woman or put our hands on a woman. You know, we created to protect our females. You know, but again, appreciate y'all for watching. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Please subscribe to this channel. You know, if you're watching this video, please subscribe to this channel. And appreciate y'all for y'all continued support. If you want to support this channel, $ Open Mind Convo. And appreciate y'all for watching. All right, peace.